Beautiful spring morning, beautiful bumblebees on the blossom. Don't know if you saw that. Don't think he liked having his video taken. Fortunately, it disturbed him from his little feed. But it's a lovely day here today, and I haven't really been on screen much doing videos and whatnot because I've been busy doing other things, really, working with various clients, setting up workshops, doing all kinds of stuff ready for this hopefully push through an increase of vitality and activity, which the sun certainly always brings to me. I do like to worship the sun. It is my favourite sphere in this solar system. But we must be cognizant of the fact that there still is a fairly oppressive energy around, which is still trying to push down and limit and create more and more fear. And it doesn't seem to be wanting to let go of its ugly grip at the moment. So we have to let it go, because it's not going to want to let go, because it requires our attention to feed off, really. So as much as most of us are looking forward to trying to get back to some easeful flow of life, where we're not dictated to by various authority structures, where we're not placed in boxes, where we're not medically sterilized in order for whatever societal paradigm that's trying to push through at the moment needs to feel safe. That energy is still very much around, so we have to be very cognizant of that, and obviously not pay it too much attention, get on with our lives the best way we can, be very, very aware and very alert that there are things going on in the background which are impacting not only our lives, probably for the rest of our lives, but also our children's lives coming through. They're going to end up living in a very, very different world. And lots of people talking about waking up at the moment. What does waking up really mean? I've always found it a little bit arrogant at times when people say, "Oh, you need to wake up, you need to wake up." Yes, there's all sorts of stuff going on external to us which we can project outwardly on and blame the cabal, the Tony Blair, George Bush, Donald Trump, all these figures, these idols that seem to pop up on news screens and in positions of kind of worldly power. And there's a huge amount of attention placed on these things that ultimately it's easy for us then to give our power away through victimhood. There were, and there still are, a lot of people claiming that conspiracy theorists are abound, and that anything that goes against true government rhetoric must be false, must be a lie, and that doesn't help the situation, because obviously we do need to keep an open mind at the moment as to what's going on and what solutions are being put in place. But when we project outwardly saying we are controlled by an evil force, we're essentially giving it power. And ultimately our external reality is merely a reflection of our internal landscape. So each individual human on this planet has an internal landscape, has a mind, has a heart, has a soul, and where each individual directs their thoughts, their attention, their energy, will ultimately create the outer reality. So the outer cabal, the outer principles of authority and structure, are merely a reflection of our own disempowerment, our own inability to govern ourselves, our own inability to want to take responsibility, and our own levels of apathy, really, for wanting to seek pleasure, comfort, and safety over, living a life of somewhat more risk, but liveliness and adventure. So yeah, it's the true conspiracy theory is what's going on in here. There's a what's going on in the head, what's going on in the mind, and how is that being outwardly projected onto our external reality. So for me, ultimately, waking up doesn't necessarily mean, yes, it kind of means that you see some of the falsehood and the B movie that we're all part of at the moment. But waking up actually, for me, means really going in and understanding yourself more and more, really starting to rediscover those aspects of your soul that you haven't really looked at for a long time, or at least lived or allowed to live through the conditioning that we've all been placed under. So waking up is not necessarily about changing anything that's going on outside of us, as a lot of people would disagree with me that taking action in the outside world is absolutely necessary, and it is necessary, it really is, but you've got to be careful how you take your action and what intention the action is coming from. Okay, the intention is the intention cognizant, aware, conscious, or is the intention coming from consciousness that's still trapped in a shadow fragment, an ego, something that has a desirous emotional quality. I was watching Star Wars last night with the kids. I can't remember, I think it was one of the later ones, not the ones I was brought up with, but they had they had the Sith Lord and the Jedi Knights, and it kind of feels a bit like Star Wars at the moment, doesn't it? You've got kind of police everywhere, you've got authority structures dictating from lecterns, and people, wearing uniforms and creating more rules and structure and bureaucracy and control and all that kind of stuff. And then you've got these kind of, the rebellion. What do the evil lords call them? The rebellious scum who are fighting for freedom and justice, but ultimately there's that one force, there's that one consciousness that binds the whole thing together, and that's ultimately the truth. So it doesn't matter what side you're playing on, really. It's the same force that's binding both sides together, and that force requires and is complete balance. So we must remember that there is a greater force in play, there's a greater power in play, there is a spirit to everything, there is a consciousness to everything which at times is ineffable. You can't even think it. Sometimes you can feel it, but you can't think it often, or you can't put a human kind of description to it, or an intellectual description to it. But that is in perfect balance, and the waves that we're surfing at the moment, will eventually settle, and then we'll get new waves. The tsunami will come and then it will go, and it might destroy a bit, it might change things a little bit, but we have to weave and surf with it, because as much as we take action, depending on where we're at in our consciousness, ultimately nothing is permanent in this ever-changing physical reality, and whatever action we take, no doubt there'll be some resistive force coming the other way to to try and either counter that or even reinforce it. So take action, but without too much attachment in your heart to outcome, because that creates suffering. And where we try to impose our own will, whether we think we're in the right or the wrong, or other people in the wrong, then we're not changing anything really, because you're using the same energy that you're actually complaining against. So you've got to be very cognizant, very aware, and not allow this oppressive, almost dystopian rhetoric to infiltrate and poison the soul. Okay, it's very easy to get poisoned by this stuff. So plenty of fresh air, plenty of sunshine, plenty of coming back into your body, plenty of living here and now, because here and now is where it's at really at the moment. There is nothing else. People are talking about a future that doesn't exist right now, and what we do now determines our next now moment. So right now I'm sitting on a bench enjoying the daffodils, and then I've got to set up and do a healing for a client. So that's really as far ahead as I'm looking at the moment, because any further than that, is a bit too unpredictable and detracts from the attention here. And so I'm enjoying the sun, and I will continue to enjoy the sun while it's out. So play well, and I'll see you next time.